Professor Uriel Reichman, the president and founder of the IDC in Herzliya, and Major General in Reserves Amos Gilad, the chairman of the IPS and the chairman of the Herzliya conferences. Distinguished guests, one and all. We are in a region and during an era wherein there are threats and dangers alongside chances. As big as the dangers are, so are the chances. The greatest threat on Israel is Iran over the entire region that creates an infrastructure for collaboration between Israel and the Sunni moderate countries and the new American administration that envisions Iran as part of the problem and not part of the solution. There is no regional security for Israel. It is the strongest power in the region and the only one who can actually be that sort of weight opposing Iran. There were missiles launched towards Deir Azor. This was lighting a little bulb showing the Arab countries what is happening. Israel was not worried about those missiles and will know in one fell swoop how to react to any Iranian threat. ISIS is being hit beyond that one singular missile that did manage to hit its target. And who is being threatened? The Gulf states. Iran wanted to show that it is ready to use its weaponry and attack. The United States must present determination while establishing its foundation in Syria and the corridor between Beirut, Damascus, and Lebanon. The policy has changed, but the reality that is intimidating us has remained. Iran, supported by Russia, is continuing to achieve its objectives in the area, establish itself in a military aspect in Syria. In other words, the transfer in Syria of parts of the population, in other words, joining the Iranian axis, creating that kind of corridor between Tehran and Beirut, and all those militia in the area. Israel ought to offer Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states some kind of collaboration in the intelligence field. And in exchange, they will receive a gradated normalization between them and us in the sea, in the sky, and on the ground. This kind of regional security access for economic regional peace. Negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians. Negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians can run alongside and parallel to this normalization, not instead of it. The Palestinians don't have any veto on this kind of normalization steps between us and the moderate states. Those steps will enhance the Israeli public's trust about peace with the Palestinians after all those bitter disappointments that the Oslo Accords and Camp David with Ehud Barak, what they brought, and the unilateral disengagement from the Gaza Strip. I'm calling upon the Gulf states to actually have a gradated, gradual normalization with Israel. And to the new heir apparent, Mohammed bin Salman and King Salman, to pave the way to a real path of discourse with Israel, as Anwar Sadat, the leader of Egypt, who saw things in advance, and as General al-Sisi and King Abdallah of the Hashemite Kingdom did so. Let us now talk about the Palestinian issue was also solved without any prerequisites. Israel won't go back to the 1967 borders. They will not let one refugee in. They will never waive its right to security or to the holy sites. We will not vacate settlers from their land and their homes. I'm calling upon the Arab leaders to abolish that Arab boycott that still exists and create those first steps in the sea, in the air, and on the ground with Israel for normalization. Let us talk about a dramatic improvement of the Palestinians' lives in the region. For example, if we're talking about the Gaza Strip, and I'll show you a video clip that will substantiate that possibility to make a decision and initiate it, that will give the Palestinians some kind of humanitarian aid, some transport help, and it will really bring about a regional economic peace that will enable the Palestinians from Jenin to connect to the Valley Train and to the various Gulf states and others, and this will gather momentum and help them burgeon and flourish. You can see it on the map.
Very short video that will illustrate how can you, with one decision, initiate a regional venture in the most difficult place in this area, which is the Gaza Strip. The artificial island in Gaza, the initiative of the artificial island should be a solution for both Palestinians and Israel. Today, Israel is perceived as responsible for the Strip, although it left it more than a decade ago, and it's the only oxygen pipe to that area. An artificial island vis-a-vis Gaza is going to give the inhabitants of Gaza humanitarian outlet and a transportation venue to the world, and to separate from the responsibility for Gaza without jeopardizing Israel's security. It is going to be owned by international enterprises. There's going to be a cargo port, warehouses, also infrastructure for water, electricity, and gas, and logistics centers. Passengers port and marina. Desalination installation, power station, future options for an airport. As a response for the security threat, Israel should have a security in the airport and the maritime port. This will be the entry gate. An international police force will be responsible just to the public order in the city. The international police force will also take care of the checkpoint on the bridge, and this would be much better than what's happening today in the Gaza, and will enable to detach the strip in case it's needed. In addition to the economic security initiative, that's going to increase the cooperation of Israel with other countries in the region and the relationship. With time, this initiative of the artificial island will prove positive to the inhabitants of Gaza and ensure a better future for the entire region. This video was prepared by the Israel Katz, which today is building 2 new ports in Ashdod and in Haifa. These are ports that already have international guarantee for 25 years, great companies. The moment we make a decision, the company can just go ahead. When I see that it's not going to cost anything to Israel, I have proof for that. We have the 2 ports for 10 billion shekels. They don't cost 1 shekel to the state. It's all foreign investments. In this port, here in this city. We have a port, we have desalination installations that will desalinate water and sell them. We have a whole system to produce electricity. And in fact, a whole system that you can do in Gaza. It's all civil. It's not under it. There's a sea. They cannot dig any tunnels. It's going to be an international island that will give civil services. Since the disengagement, we got into an impossible situation. We left all the soldiers, all the civilians, a very high price. And look what happened. Now we are still responsible for everything that happens in Gaza. Everybody deals with it. Or the whole state of Israel is responsible. And we have dilemma now. What happens when Abu Mazen says that he wants to give less money and he demands Israel to reduce the electricity to Gaza? What happens from a human point of view, practical point of view? What happens if as a result of that there is a whole explosion in the area? What happens when the families of the MIAs go to the security forces and ask to reduce the supply to Gaza until they return the bodies? The security system says we cannot do it because that will cause, and when Abu Mazen approaches, then we do reduce. Look at the dilemma that we're facing. Where are we all together? The historian that's going to write the saga of these days will never believe that this very smart nation got itself into this situation. Moreover, I am the Minister of Intelligence. We listen to what Hamas is saying, and they say Israel has to supply. It doesn't even afraid that it will be an opposition. No matter what they do, they know that we're going to supply. We have no advantage from that. And in one decision, in a process that might take a few years, but it will start being effective from day one, we can release ourselves from the responsibility to give them an outlet to the world. And I'm telling you, after talking to them and checking it, that the best security forces in Israel supports this and knows how to give solutions. One decision, you can change reality here. One decision in this most difficult place in this area, we can create something to bring on board all the other countries in the region. They can be our partners for their reasons. We can also have international factors join us and private companies. That is together with the railways. I know there are 4 students. They wrote a very nice paper. In addition to my initiative to connect the railway that comes out of the Haifa port to Beit She'an, we're planning to connect it to the border of Jordan, Sheikh Hussein, and to connect the Palestinians from the Jenin crossover. These are things that I've been talking about for years. How do we connect that to the maritime? We're talking about the border of Jordan and Saudi Arabia. We don't need any more. You know why? Because the Saudis already built a railway from Riyadh to Jordan. And in Bahrain as well. Bahrain can connect to all the Bay countries. The Israeli position here, the geopolitical position, is there from the biblical times until today. Even the Turks, who control this area for centuries, and they didn't have any political borders, they built the Hijazi train for the same reason, that it's worthwhile bringing goods and cargo from Europe through land, just a few hundreds of kilometers, except instead of the sea, which is thousands of kilometers, between 500 and 1,000 kilometers on the land. Through the sea, it's 5,000, not to mention the reality at the moment that because of the Iranian incitement and the aggressive advancements of the guards today, we've got all the straits of Bab el-Mandab near Yemen. This axis is not threatened. It's more economical, it's more secure, and it can be a great alternative. And we already checked. We checked what will be with import and export, and we'll be very happy to be assisted by the academic people here, because every economic venture, transportation is going to give it some depth. I'm telling you, there are many factors in the world that are interested. I'm in contact with the American administration. They see it positively. We need the backing and the will of those countries in the region to connect themselves. It's worth their while because they have an outlet to the Mediterranean. And I gave you 2 examples here of initiatives of making decisions. By the way, this initiative is backed by the government and the Prime Minister, and I am advancing it. All we have to do is to make a decision. 2 initiatives that will bring great benefit to Israel. Palestinians can really connect economically to transportation and infrastructure ventures like it was in America, Asia, and here as well. A real anchor, not simple little things. We're talking about economic activity, the connection between the Palestinians in the authority and the Bay countries and the Gulf countries. You know, some people here talk about initiatives, about ventures. This is something that immediately is going to create opportunities to create trade and other things. And I'm saying that security is the most important thing. We know that. You know, peace agreement everybody wants. Everybody has their own opinions, whatever. But in the middle, we're talking about a big space, a real economic, regional space that we can fill out. And just as I approached then, I'm approaching from this conference as well, as Begin and Sadat did at their time. They came, they broke through, and they broke the psychological barrier. I call upon Salman, the King of Saudi, invite the Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu, to visit Saudi Arabia. We saw what a wonderful host you can be. We saw it when President Trump was there. You can also send your heir apparent, the new one, Prince Mohammed bin Salman. He is a dynamic person, he's an initiator, and he wants to break through exactly this way. And they know who Iran is. They know that we have to create an axis vis-a-vis Iran. You can send him for a meeting in Israel. And I promise you he's going to be a very welcome guest, very distinguished guest. This is the way you can create a relationship of trust and peace. There's no regional peace without Israel. As I said, when Israel is strong, you too, the Gulf Arab countries will be strong. And when we're strong together, then Iran will be weak. And I think it's about time to extend a hand of the brave, to extend a hand to Israel, and Israel will do the same for Saudi Arabia, for the Gulf, and together we can build a Middle East which will be safe and prosperous. Thank you very much.